Well, I have to say, this was a very well written book, and the character's very is written in a. There's a lot of complexity to this character, so I just approached it from an acting point of view, and then suddenly I'm singing Dolly Parton.
Gay. Gay. This is fucking gay.
Oh, they're doing this.
Christmas is the time for beauty.
Regina's childhood best friend, the incredible show-stopping Miss Jennifer Lewis.
Even though we're friends who have grown up here together, it's time for that change.
Regina, I'm the only friend you got, and you never even told me?
Ooh, she's such a... bless her heart.
Dolly Parton's great because it's the only place in the world a Dolly Parton thing is where you can find zealous homophobes and the gayest people alive holding hands singing.
Utopian fantasy.
Even with a show like this where they're not gonna even say the word bitch. I'll say it, bitch.
This was a very well written book.
What do you want from me?
Change.
I want 75 cents.
For a $50 bill.
I need a roll of quarters. I got 2 loads down the street at the laundry.
This was a very well written book.
Oh, good heavens. Yes, they are. What exactly are you doing?
Well written book.
Okay, I gotta update you. Stop, I gotta update you on the child bartender. Now, we're not gonna laugh. It's very sad, but you guessed it, the young bartender, the precocious young girl, was hit by a car. Who hit her with the car? That's what I wanna know. Regina's car has blood all over the hood. She's trying to wipe it off. I can't believe who's done this.
Well, I have to say, this was a very well written book, and the character's is written in a. There's a lot of complexity to this character.
Christmas on the square.
Christmas time on the square. Square.
It's
Christmas
Christmas on the square.
time.
Christmas
Giving
on the
Christmas.
square.
Gotta get out of this
The
town.
snow is on the
I'm
ground.
a villain. I'm gonna leave
It's
the
a Christmas
town.
on the square.
Christmas time.
Christmas. Fertility treatments are all I want for Christmas. Oh my God.
Welcome back. Welcome back. Merry holiday season.
Merry holidays. Merry holidays. Coming to the stage, Merry holidays.
Merry holidays. I don't even know where to begin with this. Okay.
Tell the good folks what movie we're
Welcome to another episode of Showgays, where we this week are going to discuss the seminal 2020 classic that is Dolly Parton's Christmas on the Square. That is the full official title.
Mm-hmm.
And this, I will say, this marks a monumental occasion for the pod, as this is our first female director that we have ever had for this show. So that is exciting. It's a shame that it's this movie, but I can't, unfortunately, also think of many female-directed movie musicals. So, Molly, how are you today? We've had a couple weeks off.
It's very cold here, so I'm wearing one of my heaviest sweaters today, and cozy socks on, and all that jazz, because it's winter now.
Yeah, it snowed today. In fact,
it snowed here today. Yeah.
RJ, feeling good about the snow?
Oh, it's a love-hate relationship.
We should be clear, we're not even at Thanksgiving yet when we're recording this. You're listening to this probably in January if you're a normal person.
That's true, yeah.
So,
yeah, because this is the 30. This would be the
31st.
December.
Yeah, this is December 31st.
How is it go? How
is she? How is the new year? Let us know in the comments.
Yeah.
New Year's Eve is also my sister's birthday, so happy birthday in advance.
Oh, happy birthday to Maggie. Okay, so unfortunately, it's my turn to do the summary. of
luck.
this.
It truly will be a challenge.
And I do actually think this might be the first week that if I try to actually say what the plot is, and I'll just be like, it's a reference of other,
not bits.
Yeah. Okay, just somebody time
All
me.
right. Okay, Adam. This is your 1 minute summary challenge, and your time starts now.
Okay, so Dolly Parton's Christmas on the Square is about a town called Fullertown or Fullerville or something like that. And the woman who owns the town, which is a thing, her name is Regina. She's played by Christine Baranski. She is going to sell the property of the town to a mall company. And so she has decided to evict everyone on Christmas Eve. There is a pastor of the town who leads the rebellion against her. Rebellion is a gross overcharacterization of what happens in this film. His wife is barren. There is a woman who owns a hair salon, and she does nothing to advance the plot. There is a little girl who is in a car accident and almost dies, but then magically doesn't. Dolly Parton plays an angel who tries to get Regina to find the errors of her ways in the classic Christmas sense. I think I'm well past a minute at this point, and I'm not even to the big turn of events, which is her assistant is also an angel. And then there's like a brief, you find out that she had a kid when she was young, and it ends up being the pastor. But then there's also an entire subplot with like the man of the town, Carl, who like was her boyfriend at the time, but is not the father of the kid. And it all happened on a Christmas dance. I don't know, like a Yule ball. I don't know what's going on there. And then everything is fine in the end. So it's a little bit of A Christmas Carol. It's a little bit of country. It's a little bit of rock and roll. You know, it's got all of it. It's got touchstones. That was like 5 minutes.
Just 2 minutes.
Yeah, RJ, I thought you were timing because you like so confidently introduced the segment.
But it was fun to see him spiral.
I'll put the sound of when the minute times out. So it'll be very clear.
I think you got to the hair salon. Technically was a minute. But there was still
Why can I not remember Jennifer Lewis's name? I keep wanting to say
what was her name? She had a name?
No, I literally couldn't remember.
Jennifer Lewis.
Jennifer Lewis. Isn't there an episode of Drag Race where RuPaul gets Jennifer Lewis and Jennifer Lawrence confused? I have a memory of this happening.
I don't know, but she is a great guest judge on that one episode.
Someone was thinking she said Jennifer Lawrence, like a contestant.
Oh, that
she was saying Jennifer Lawrence. It's like, what? I think it was Heidi. And she was like, oh, Jennifer Lewis. I thought you said Jennifer Lawrence.
Oh, yes. This might have also been on a pit stop episode now that I think about it. I just feel like RuPaul getting people confused is like very on brand. So I attributed it to Ru.
Did I miss anything in this plot? I'm assuming nobody has seen this. Or like very few people have seen this.
I would be shocked if anyone didn't see it, because this won the Emmy for Best Outstanding Television Movie in 2020. So
I will say, when we did Jamie, we were like, we like did a thing at the beginning where we were like, you should see this. Like, this is good. You should see it before you listen for spoilers. You do not need to see this. This is not a movie that I would be like,
I disagree. Oh, please go watch this movie. Oh my goodness.
Watch it for the absolute insanity. If you want to like spend an hour, if you have an hour and a half to just be like, take me, Dolly.
I was just going to say, I would say that as the hour and a half was going, there were moments where I was like, oh, it's already been 30 minutes. Oh, it's already been 45 minutes. Oh, an hour has passed. Well.
And then the plot happens. An hour into this movie.
This sort of what I think is a camp version of a Hallmark movie. And I think that this kind of like cable Christmas movie is made for having it on in the background while you are watching presents or baking or like doing a Christmas activity, right? They're meant to be in the background. And I wish I had experienced it that way, because the monumental plot twists that happen, the joy of being like midway through a batch of cookies and then looking up and just being like, wait, she's an angel too? Like I just wish that I had that experience of half watching it and having all of these things occur. It would have been
Folding
amazing.
laundry. Wrapping presents.
Yeah.
Molly, did you, this is your first, this is you've never heard of this until I mentioned it?
Yeah, I had never heard of it until Adam proposed it in a planning meeting for a Christmas episode, but then you said it was Dolly Parton, and I said immediately that I was in, because I have loved Dolly Parton since I did Steel Magnolias in high school, and the cast all watched the movie together as part of cast bonding type of thing. So,
Molly, were you
I'm
Weezer?
into anything with Dolly Parton. I was not Weezer. I was Annelle, I think is the character's name. It's the younger woman who gets hired at the hair salon. So she works for Dolly Parton.
The Splash.
Yes, it's Splash.
Daryl
Hannah.
Yep.
I always get Daryl Hannah and
Who becomes
there
like
was a guy
a
on
super
SNL.
Christian in the story. She like becomes like born again. From her.
But there's a guy that was on SNL whose name is also Daryl H something, who did impressions.
Daryl Hammond.
Daryl Hammond.
And I'm always worried I'm going to say the wrong last name. It's a Danny Glover, Donald Glover situation.
Oh,
sure.
Yeah.
RJ?
The only background, loose background I had on this movie was that I just remembered seeing the poster and Christine Baranski with that harsh haircut holding an eviction notice. And I was like, oh, this is going to be a good time. But I didn't end up watching it last year during the holidays because I opted for the other Netflix movie musical, Jingle Jangle. And as I was watching this, I know in our planning meeting, we were talking about whether to do Jingle Jangle or Christmas in the Square. And I was like, oh man, I kept going to Adam being like, you would have loved Jingle Jangle. If we had to compare this and that, like, Jingle Jangle is like Star Wars compared to this.
Jingle Jangle is like a movie, essentially.
Jingle Jangle is a movie.
Here's what I will say. Jingle Jangle is a movie, and this is very clearly like a TV movie.
Yes, exactly.
That is very clear. So I won't hold that against it.
Yeah.
I did not watch this last year, which is, I think, fun that we're all seeing this fresh for the first time. Nobody's seen this before.
Mm-hmm.
I had remembered people on Twitter at the time, once it like dropped, some people saw it and were like, oh, this was a mess, but like fun. They were like, it's a fun mess, but it's mostly a mess. But I didn't, there was a lot happening last Christmas. My grandpa had just died. So, got a lot on the plate. It's okay. But yeah, I am glad I saw it because there's something I keep coming back to in doing this podcast and talking about movie musicals, and I'm trying to figure out why movie musicals are so important to me, other than the fact that like I was like kind of raised on them, so it's obviously a nostalgia factor, but like I still deeply care about movie musicals that I did not grow up on. So it obviously means there's something else to it. And I think it's because movie musicals, in my mind, are some of the hardest movies to pull off because they have a bigger hurdle to climb for the audience to like buy into what's happening and like actually pull everything off in a real way, or even not a real way, but just pull it off in the way that they're intending to pull it off. I think that this movie tries to pull something off, tries to pull something over, to pull the wool over your eyes.
I think before we get into facts and figures, we have to discuss, was this intentional camp? Because I think it was.
Okay, so this is what I said. So before we'll talk about it a little bit when I get into the criticism of this
and when Susan dials in for the show. Later.
Right, once
Suze does her call-in bit,
yeah. But people were like, it's so campy, and I reacted originally to this as that it wasn't campy, But maybe I'm so used to at this point purposeful camp, or what was the phrase?
Naive camp.
Naive camp is like Room. Intentional camp is like Little Shop.
Is like Little Shop. Okay.
Yeah.
So I think I'm so used to intentional camp at this point that I was like shocked by, or maybe I couldn't see that this was naive camp, but I also don't. There is something. Here's what I will say.
I'm saying it is intentional camp. I'm saying it's not naive camp. I'm saying it's intentional.
That I don't know, because I think there.
Okay.
I obviously I'm not Susan Sontag, but I will say I think there is like you have to have a queer sensibility to some degree, and this movie,
as the gatekeepers of camp.
No, I just mean there has to be something like off,
like
and
twisted.
Yeah, and like it's really only like Dolly that is the only thing that's like kind of strange about this, but like the rest of it is just very like community theater, which like is camp, which is why I think it's more naive camp than it is intentional camp, because they are so earnestly trying to pull off like
the story
of whatever the hell this is. And also like all these people in the crowd who are like cuckoo bananas are all just like Atlanta suburb actors. So like God bless these people.
What a great opportunity. I think that it is intentional camp, but I think they didn't go quite hard enough. And I think the fact that we're sitting here feeling a little unsure is indication of that. If it was very clearly intentional camp, we would all come in and be like, we know that's what they're doing. But I think that's my theory, is that they were going for it, but maybe didn't go quite hard enough. So we'll discuss.
I think it might be also that Debbie Allen doesn't really know how to define camp, so she couldn't lean into an intentional camp if she doesn't really fully grasp
potentially.
It, if that makes sense.
I think Christine Baranski knows this is a camp movie, and I think Dolly Parton knows it's a camp movie, and Dolly Parton's name being on it is what set me up for having that expectation, but maybe not Debbie Allen.
Yeah, it definitely felt like during the process it was like, oh, but the story of the pastor and his wife is really touching, and I think there's something here that is the true. Like I felt like that was like a around the room conversation that happened that ended up kind of like manifesting.
Maybe
in
they
the movie.
wanted sincerity as well, and then it got conflicted. Yeah, and then we got to talk about the Christianity too, but
okay,
you mean saving it.
Oh, there's Christianity in this?
Oh, I know.
Is that part
very
of the movie?
Subtle. I wanted to explain the really subtle hints because I'm worried everyone's going to miss it if I don't talk about it. Yeah.
The themes, the like subtle themes. Okay. This movie was directed by Debbie Allen, who is like a literal legend. Like
amazing.
Debbie Allen. She's Debbie Allen.
She taught so many children how to dance.
Yeah.
True. On Fame. She I'm sorry. The screenplay is by Maria S. Schlater, which is like cool. That's also a woman. It's starring Dolly Parton as Angel, Jennifer Lewis as, I don't know, I think her character's name is Marjorie or something like that.
I'm just gonna call everyone by their actor names.
Does she have a name? Doesn't matter. Josh Segarra plays a character named Pastor Christian. So his name
intentional camp. Somebody has to have known when they named him Pastor Christian.
His name is Minister, basically. So that's great.
Father Priest.
Yeah. Janine Mason, is that
I think that's Jenna.
No, I think that's the
Felicity. That's Felicity the assistant.
Felicity the angel in training.
Famously won So You Think You Can Dance.
Famously won So You Think You Can Dance. Marilyn Haskell
is Jenna.
Is Jenna
the pastor
wife. Christian's wife. Who is in every Dolly Parton
Netflix
movie.
She's in Coat of Many Colors. She is in the Heartstrings.
She's in the, what do they call it when you're Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, yeah. It's like, when
Studio Systems
Taika Waititi just, hires the same actors or, like that.
Is she like
Wes
friends
Anderson.
with Dolly Parton or something?
She must be.
Was she like the head of entertainment at Dollywood? Who knows? We'll never know. She doesn't have a Wikipedia
Okay,
page.
I know we're not supposed to interrupt facts and figures, but I went to her website and the first line is, Mary Lane has been an actress ever since her star turn as, quote, homeless child in Disney Channel original movie when she was 5 years old. That's what you start your bio with. Here's the headline, everyone. I played a homeless child in a Disney Channel original movie when I was 5.
I'm an actress.
So wild. Treat Williams from the famous show Everwood plays Carl, Christine Baranski's Regina's ex-lover.
Mm-hmm.
And Christine Baranski plays Regina, who is the main character, the Scrooge, if you will, in this partial Scrooge tale.
Yeah, we'll get to that later.
Cinematography by Oliver Bokelberg. I don't usually interrupt this portion to talk about stuff, but like, I hated that during the songs, we just kept going from like left to right. Like the camera just kept like panning and like, it was very annoying to me. Okay, that's all I wanted to say.
So
I didn't like the visual language of this film. Edited by Casey O'Rourke. I'm shocked to see there was a human editor and not someone who was just an algorithm splicing together pieces of a film. Music is by Dolly Parton. Production company, Warner Brothers Television, Magnolia Hill Productions. It's distributed by Netflix. It was released last year on November 22nd. Its running time is 98 minutes. We love to see that. And there's no budget and there's no box office. So
classic Netflix.
If I was to estimate a budget, I would say
a buffalo nickel.
I would definitely say maybe
I assume
$1 million.
I assume free because they probably shot in Dollywood, right?
No, they didn't. I watched. There's an entire behind the scenes video for this.
Oh no,
that has 455 views, and I was the 456th. So
amazing.
We're gonna start the fan base for this movie. Let's get a wiki going.
Hey, angels! Come on, angels!
Angels with a Z.
Yeah, angels.
Shockingly, this movie won 2 Emmys. This movie won Outstanding Television Movie at the Emmys and Outstanding Choreography for Miss Debbie Allen because she also choreographed it. Apart from that, it says in the opening credits of the film that this is based on a play called Christmas on the Square. Nothing. I could find nothing. I searched specifically Christmas on the Square play. I searched Christmas on the Square playwrights. I searched play publishing company. Nothing. I don't know if that's real.
Yeah, that's the only thing about the movie.
Yeah.
My guess was that, and because it gave me this energy while watching it, was that this was either a skit, a sketch, or a play that they do in Dollywood. That was I
don't know, because I searched Christmas on the Square Dollywood and I couldn't find that either. And so I was like, I don't know what's happening. I felt like this gives me the energy of a Branson production. If you're familiar with Branson, Missouri, and they're kind of middle of the country, middle of the road, very family friendly Christian entertainment. The Vegas of the Midwest, if you will.
Yeah, because I was going to say maybe it's one of those plays that they sell for middle schools that make sure that, this would make sense where you want to make sure that everyone gets a part. So there are so many characters, right? Maybe it's a youth play that then they adapted into this, but it could also be a Branson, Missouri type of show.
Because even the ensemble, which, oh my God, the ensemble, there are some the lines are evenly spread, so it really did feel like a community theater because they were why is this ensemble person getting
so much screen time and she's not a character?
Yeah, there
She's
was like
just a
that blonde woman in the
woman.
very first.
Yes!
Yeah, where they're all singing together, and then all of a sudden she comes in being like, "It's Christmas on," and I was like, "Oh, so she's like a character," but no,
That's what I thought.
No,
she
she's
just
not.
has a moment.
And they always pan to her.
They cut to her so many times in group numbers in this movie. And she has her like her black friend.
Yeah.
It's her and that black girl are like the friends. And I was like, oh, are they insinuating they're like lesbians? But I don't think that was it. But there's definitely 2 gay men.
Yeah, that's true. That's canon.
That's canon. Pete and Chasten are in this movie.
Did you see that I wrote this group of straight people and Pete Buttigieg gays? Do we have a word for that? Is there a better descriptor?
Yes.
A Buttigieg is what I'm going to call them.
It's a Buttigieg. Yeah. All the gay men in this movie are Buttigiegs.
Yeah.
Everyone in this movie shops at Old Navy. From the like Christmas time Old Navy sale.
But like honestly, they could just take some of the choreography and then add like, it's Christmas at Old Navy. Shop $10 sweaters.
Yes.
Like it's like, and just
they
overlay the vocals.
They may have filmed that like in between takes where they were like, oh, can we do the Old Navy Christmas commercial real quick while we're all
it's like
here?
a tie-in that they did. Yeah, that was one of my great disappointments in terms of the camp element, was that I was like, I think if they wanted to do camp, I wish they had gone harder with the costumes. Like either way worse or like so stylized. You know what I mean? Like the costumes were so bland that I was like, oh, I just feel like you could do more with this.
The most sexual thing that happens in this movie, we should just start talking about the movie, but the most sexual thing that happens in this movie is Pastor Christian takes off his coat and reveals a quarter zipped sweater, and it's like, woo, sexy.
Okay, if we're going to start with this movie, I want to start by the anecdote of when we were watching this. Adam was like, I don't think I'm really going to take notes. It's a short movie. I can just whatever. And then,
to be fair, I didn't really take a bunch.
You ended up didn't. And then they panned into and then it was the opening number, Christmas on the Square. And then they panned into the hair salon where 2 gay men are voguing the house down boots
Mama.
to Christmas on the Square. And Adam had to pause and go, I have to get my iPad.
I don't even know where to start with describing so much happens in the opening number. I don't know how to orient our audience to this.
It's so crazy because so much happens in the opening number, and then still the first 45 minutes are pure exposition.
Yeah.
Like the plot doesn't happen until halfway through this film, and you're like, oh, like you know that the conflict is that she's going to evict everyone. Like that is clear from the outset. But then, like, nothing happens until halfway through the film.
Nothing information to help you understand the characters don't stop. They constantly
I can't even believe in the plot description. I forgot to mention that Christine Baranski's character has a brain tumor. She has a brain tumor, and that is a massive plot point.
I forgot about that. I genuinely did.
Oh my god.
Okay, so we open with a group dance number where they are expressing enthusiasm for Christmas.
Sure. For Christmas.
And then we cut into the...
No, wait, hold on. We open with a CGI Dolly Parton. Or not CGI, but like she was not there on that set on that day. She has this like Instagram haze around her.
I thought a ghost at first, but isn't actually an angel. So I think it may have also been intentional that she's because they make comments that imply that maybe only Christine Baranski can see her. Like she might not actually be in the town.
I would agree with you, except for there are other shots where it's just like the stand-in who's supposed to be Dolly Parton because she's not there on
both
set.
Can be true.
In the
Both
background.
Can be true.
It's so there's the effect that they do where it's like she has like magical rhinestones, right? Because it's obviously Dolly Parton. So like that is fine, but there's like she was literally not on set. Like it is so clear the lighting on her is like different than the lighting in the like studio.
Yeah.
It's so funny. And so I was like this whole because then the first song that she had, like the first real song she has, which is the like light your lamp or whatever the hell that song where she's floating on a cloud is. She floats on a cloud and then she's lit really weird there too. And obviously she's floating on a cloud. So it's like she wasn't there in the room. So I was like, I don't think Dolly Parton came to the set at any point. And then she finally shows up in real life, like once you scenes, get into like the twist of Felicity being an angel in training. And then she's like actually there. And I was like, oh, so she did have time in her schedule.
But the entire time we just thought like, okay, COVID protocols. She probably didn't film.
This shit was filmed in 2019. Before COVID existed, girl. There is no excuse.
It's all about caring, love and compassion. Better to give and receive. Now that is the true fact. Those that don't know that, well, they are the poorest indeed.
I'm gonna reverse my Judi Dench attitude about divas for Dolly Parton because I love her so much. I think that's great. I don't mind it at all. Okay, so I guess maybe I got her. I couldn't remember if she was introduced before Christine Baranski, but maybe you're right. So we see her as this apparition in like gray rags that's clearly trying to imply that she's some sort of a homeless person. And she's carrying a box that says change. Get it, guys? It has a double meaning. And then we cut to Christine Baranski in the car, and she has a little solo where she's like, I'm going to get out of this stupid town, and I'm going to sell
Gotta get out of this town. Gotta get out.
There's no melody in sight. She's singing, but I swear to God, there's not a melody.
It's recitative.
Gotta get out of this town. There's no reason to wait around. Forget the past, be free at last. Gotta get out of this town.
And then do we go to the hair salon? Is that where we go next?
No, we see
This is like a memory game. It's like it's like you flip them over and try to remember where they are.
The
first
people
place she goes to are the pastor and
the pastor's wife.
Pastor's wife. Okay.
The pastor's wife.
Okay, this is crazy. This is insane.
The pastor's wife owns a baby store.
A baby clothing store.
A baby clothing store.
But she is not able to bear children. But she is
not able to bear children. And her first line is fully like, oh, well, like...
I hope the IVF works. It's truly like, what's... This movie, I cannot believe... There are so many things about this movie that I can't believe actually happened. I feel like I'm reliving trauma, just like reciting.
Getting fertility treatments is better than anything that comes in paper.
But in the best way. I really think this. I didn't like hate this movie. I had fun because I was like, this is so bananas. This is bananas.
I will say that she keeps talking about it like it's her problem that they can't have children, but we don't have any scientific proof that it's somehow more her problem than her husband's. And I felt like we were relying on the narrative of that. And I was a little uncomfortable with that. So I just want to, when we talk about it, I don't want to frame it as she's barren, as you did earlier in the episode. But I mean, in one way, I'm like, yeah, this is a thing more people are struggling with nowadays. And like, we're trying to break the stigma of it. So like, let's put it in a musical. But in another way, it is wildly outside of the realm of the kinds of things that you expect to be in an opening musical number.
Like her first line has the word fertility treatments in it, and I was like, oh, hold on.
Every line that she says in this movie is a sentence that no one on earth has ever said or will ever say. Every line was so stilted, and I was like, okay, I have specifically this line that she says. This is after the first song has ended, but this is after they learn that
she's kicking them out.
That she's kicking them out of the town. They're all being evicted, and she says to her husband, "Your ministry and vision for this town are beyond reproach." And I literally had to pause the movie and be like, that's a sentence that you write in a letter, like, to your pastor, where you're like, you helped me through grief, and I really want to thank you for all that you've done as you retire from being a pastor and move on to the end of your life or whatever. Like, that is the craziest sentence for someone to be like, off the cuff, you know, honey, your ministry and vision for this town are beyond reproach. And she's not a good actress, sorry, so she doesn't pull it off.
They really make sure that you know that, like, this guy could never do anything wrong, which I think is what bothered me also about the fertility treatment thing, that it was like, I can't have children. It was like, it very much implied, like, well, he's such a good man that, like, it couldn't be anything happening physically with him that could be causing the infertility. It's obviously his wife, because he is beyond reproach.
He's beyond reproach, literally. Also, I love the idea that they have to explain that the pastor in this, like, Dolly Parton movie is a good guy. Like, you could just be like, he's the pastor of the town, and be like, okay, got it. He's the good guy in the story. Like, I don't need you to be like, and also he's a saint.
Yeah. It's
wild.
There's a lot happening with those two.
Let's go back to the opening song.
Yeah. So then do we go to the hair salon?
Yes.
Okay. There is also somewhere in here a scene where or like a half a second where the guy that owns the hardware store, which we later find out is old flame of Christine Baranski, just walks out and, like, looks at the snow appreciatively. And then he smiles at a different older woman, and I thought that they were setting them. I thought maybe, like, it was going to be their love story.
Oh, yeah.
And then
no,
she's
completely
the
irrelevant.
rest of the film.
She's completely.
She has a song. She has a part during Wicked Witch of the Middle where she's like, "Shall we kill her?" And it's like,
yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, she's revealed to be. I mean, not much is revealed about her, but what is revealed is surprising and a little bit disturbing.
Jarring.
A bit jarring. That's the word for it. So we just see him visually, and then I think we go into the hair salon.
Famously, that's the only way you can see people, is visually.
No, I just mean he doesn't have a scene. We're not introduced to him through the song. We just see him.
See him orally. AURALLY.
We tactily feel his face through a really cool new technology that's rolling out with this movie. Netflix really hit big on the, like, technology aspect of this. I was really surprised.
This is the first movie they deployed it with.
Yeah, big step up from Bandersnatch. Okay, so then we go to the hair salon, and Dolly Parton makes it clear, I don't care what Hallmark movie channel is going to do. There are going to be homosexuals in this movie immediately.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because we do see two men voguing to open that scene. And then Jennifer Lawrence.
Molly did it. Molly
and then
did
Jennifer
it.
Lewis. I'm in good company with Heidi in Closet. Jennifer Lewis sings about, she's just singing about Christmas because she doesn't know yet. And then Christine Baranski comes in and is like,
Marjolaine, don't even argue, because even though we're friends who have grown up here together, it's time for that to end. Here's a notice to vacate and a check to relocate. I'll see you when you do my hair tomorrow. Don't be late.
What are you talking about?
Cheatham Hall was looking for a plot of land, and I inherited one.
Louisville is a plot of land?
Easiest deal ever. It's a sign. It's a sign that it's time to change.
Regina, I'm the only friend you got, and you never even told me?
Ooh, she's such a
Bless her heart. What's to become of us?
And then where do we go after the hair salon? Is that maybe?
Then it's just
and then I
general
think,
chorus fair.
Yeah. And then they walk into the town square, and the who we later learn is Angel in training starts handing out eviction notices to people just as she's walking by, saying she's sorry. And I was like, I know that this movie is not meant to be taken too seriously, but I'm pretty sure you can't just photocopy eviction notices and just hand them out to people around the town. I think you have to have someone's specific name and like for a specific property. I don't think you can just sort of hand them out to everybody and say, generally, we're selling the town and you're all being evicted.
Also, selling a town, I mean, I don't understand a lot.
Let's talk about the governance, because
the governance.
Because even Jennifer Lewis, later on, you find out, was not only the first female business owner in Fullerville or whatever.
She was the first female mayor.
She was the first female mayor, but not anymore. Which made me think, who is the mayor? Is Regina the mayor? But no, they only refer to her as the landlord of the town, which I don't think is possible.
Yeah, I'm sorry to Schitt's Creek, but I don't think you can just own a town.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I guess you could own all of the buildings in a town. So I guess they're just using shorthand for that.
That doesn't seem to be what it is, though.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It does sort of seem like, I mean, they certainly talk about it like she's just selling the entire town out from under them.
Yeah.
And she's selling it to a mall.
Yeah.
Cheetah Mall.
Because in American Christmas movies, the worst thing you can do is sell a business in order to build a different business. Because some businesses are good and other businesses are bad. And we've all just decided that that's true.
There's another line in this movie that is, you're just using Cheetah Mall to cheat us all.
Which, I mean,
Poetry.
Brilliant. So it's worth it definitely for that line to exist.
Who? Found dead. Literally dead. I don't even know how to discuss this movie because I don't have a list of the song. Well, okay. First of all, now that we've talked about the opening, let's listen to a bit of the opening.
Christmas on the square, everybody's there, laughing, singing, joy bells ringing, smiles are everywhere.
Coats and hats and such as that, and thermal underwear.
Trees aglow
and mistletoe.
It's Christmas on the square.
I need some mistletoe.
Listeners, if you can tell us what the melody is in this song, we will award you a prize.
I would also like, this is generally what I'm saying though. I don't know where to, is this the first movie where we just go through kind of the machinations of the plot? Because like, there's so much happening, and the only way I feel like I will remember what's going on is if I try to like go beat by beat.
That was the thing. There was so much plot.
There was so much plot. And
yet so little happens.
There was an A plot. There was like an A through G plot.
Yeah.
There were so many plots.
They do, for the most part, stick with Christine Baranski, which I think is the best choice that the movie makes. True. Because I am happy every time that she is on screen. I think that she knows she's playing a camp villain, and that's great. I will say that one of the places where I felt like they failed was they were like, we want to stick with the villain for the most of the movie, but we also don't want to explain the villain's motivations until the very end. And so she has to be this weirdly inarticulate, two-dimensional character who can never explain why she's doing any of the things that she's doing. Which I feel like, again, like you could have done that, but then you needed to make her like even more of a caricature, you know, and like make that a clear joke that she like refuses to tell anybody. But instead, she just kept sort of being like, I'm selling the town because I need a new start. And it was like,
yeah,
what?
because okay, so obviously she's supposed to be Scrooge. Like that's obviously what they're pulling from in terms of like tropes in Christmas movies. But like Scrooge, the reason A Christmas Carol is so good as like a piece of literature and a story that people keep coming back to is like everything is so stock but like efficient in terms of like how it's deployed. So like I don't need a 10-page backstory on Scrooge being who he is. You just know from the beginning he's a miser, and so it's like, and that's why he sucks. But like there's no, she's just like a bitch, and then like apart from that you're like, okay, so she's just selling the town. So there was a part of me at the beginning where I kind of was like, oh, I hope she actually sells the town. And like, then we just deal with the repercussions of like,
like a you're in town situation.
Yes, or like it's full fiddler, and we have to watch them do a Christmas on a Tevka outside as they walk out.
Or that even sounds like something Hallmark would try.
That's technically what happens in How They're Gonna Steal Christmas is he actually does steal Christmas, and then like
but he gives it back then,
right? But that's you get the like interesting thing of the what makes it a Christmas movie is the fact that you learn that Christmas isn't about
they see the mistake, like she would see the mistake as it happened,
right?
Oh no, there's a different wild way that she learns about her mistakes that I will save. So I think what happens after, the other way we do it is by character, but I feel like that's also confusing because the characters are so weirdly interrelated and yet not related.
The main idea of this episode, the true challenge of this episode is like, how do we talk about this movie?
And it's not my song because I couldn't tell you songs.
Couldn't tell you a single lyric that they sang.
Someone could just like add pitches to a sentence, and
actually,
that technically counted as a song.
I will say, let's talk about Wicked Witch of the Middle, because I think it will tie into a few things. I think we're gonna finally start talking about the Christianity situation.
Okay.
Because there's like a weird Christian thing in that song. I want to talk about the like I am someone who's from a flyover state, so I do not like the term flyover states, but like I understand what that is to evoke. And I think there is something very specifically this film that is like middle America is just as important. There's the thing where like people from these parts of the country feel like they need to justify that their lives are worth something.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to say this not pejoratively, and I do think a lot of the blame does fall on people from coasts, not just like liberal elites, but just like people in general who like use the term flyover states to refer to like places where people live, work, have families, have full introspective lives, and like these are not just places that are like not worth their salt. But I do think there is like a weird with Wicked Witch of the Middle, there's like a weird, we're leaning into the Fox News kind of like talking points in like I don't know how to explain it other than I just got these vibes from that song specifically where I was like, because it's about like how she went to New York and then like became a different person, and now she's like a bitch, and like how going to a city is like bad. And I was like, okay. It was so tropey.
Several things about going to New York. One, her best friend is Jennifer Lewis, and she talks about how, well, I don't know. She tells Jennifer Lewis to come do her hair, which I felt like was an indication that that's something she regularly does. But she lives in New York City. So has Jennifer Lewis been going to New York City like once every 6 weeks for the entirety of their lives to do her hair?
Which like is not that great. She doesn't do that great of a job if that's the final result that we get in this film.
Yes. So I feel like the movie was it took a long time to like clearly establish that she's been in New York this whole time. And it was because she like had all these relationships and dynamics with people in the town where it felt like, well, surely they like have interacted with each other regularly. right? But then it turns out actually she's been in New York. So
the
that I think is
postman
confusing.
talks to her like he sees her every day.
Yeah.
Right. But then I think that that's an interesting take, Adam. And I will say though that I feel like the town also though kind of, if we're gonna be like really serious about what this movie is trying to say, the town also kind of gets its own comeuppance, because when we find out at the end that she had a child out of wedlock as a teenager and gave it up for adoption.
Disgusting.
Well, we find out that her father hid the fact. Oh, okay.
Famously, she got pregnant because she danced with a boy.
I genuinely, as I was watching it, I was like, is this going to be the thing that she did to betray her boyfriend, that she hasn't been able to look at him for like 50 years because she danced with another man? And then she's like, and then when I got pregnant, I was like, oh, okay, it's a metaphor. Gotcha.
Oh, okay,
Good. Something actually happened. So she got pregnant as a teenager. Yeah, let's just go to the ending. I don't care anymore. She got pregnant as a teenager. And she gave it the baby. And her dad says this thing about how like she wants her to be able to move. He wants her to be able to move on, but he like wants to know, be in his grandchild's life or whatever. And so we find out that he like gave it to somebody in the town, I guess. He has to have adoptive parents. This was the thing that really bothered me at the end. He was like, here's my mom. And I was like, surely you were raised by other people who and someone that you probably already call mom, and like we should maybe consider their feelings in this moment as well. I don't know. Anyway, so I think that the movie is implying that the fact that her dad's like, she has to be able to move on and not have to live with this, that the town is a judgmental place. I feel like they talk about this too, right? That like, she knew she would be judged in the town, so she like couldn't stay there.
That's what you find out when she like sees him give away the baby, is that he's doing it to protect her.
Right. And I think also though, then when she's in the church at the end and is like explaining, when she's explaining to the townspeople what happened, I feel like they kind of say explicitly like, it's because you all wouldn't have accepted me at this time when this happened. And obviously they celebrate at the end that she's reunited with her son and everything. So I think it's meant to be a little bit of a lesson for the town too, that like, hey, we should have been less judgmental, and then this woman could have been with her son.
Yeah,
for her
because
whole
it's like the man that you respect the most out of, besides God himself, the only other respectable man that you like worship basically is this child out of wedlock.
It is crazy because the guy, Christine Baranski's dad, who is dead during this entire film, he's only there in flashbacks and as a portrait in her home. He is like revered in the town. Like there's no like weird, like I think a big trope is like the man who owns the town is like a bad guy or a jerk or whatever.
Yeah, he like loved the town. Like he was shaking Jennifer Lewis's hand on that picture when she was mayor.
Yeah.
And like everyone just like respected it. Because everyone kept bringing up like I hadn't seen you, Christine Baranski, forever until your dad's funeral, which made it seem like it was like recent. Like super recent.
I think they said it was like 6 months ago. Which I also thought set up a weird gender dynamic, that it was like, your dad was a nice person, but now you're a woman with money, so you're mean.
Well, yeah.
Of course. This is a natural consequence. You can't let women have control over money.
Yeah.
My God.
Let's go back to not allowing them to have credit cards.
So I do think the town faces a bit of criticism. I think also, Adam, I think it's funny that you were like, let me give a bit of a defense of the flyover states trying to make themselves relevant, because I did read an article in preparation for today called Hallmark Movies Are Fascist Propaganda. So I think that there's definitely, if we're taking this as part of the overall of Hallmark Lifetime, now Netflix,
agenda.
We understand we need a better name for them now that they're on so many channels. But there's also definitely a sense of like, hey, like we want these movies where everyone's white and Christian or a couple Black people, but that's it. And definitely no gays. And, you know,
there's not a job in sight. Get out of here with that.
Oh, no. No one could have a different faith. That's definitely true.
That's definitely true.
So,
Pretty could not live in Fullerville.
No.
Oh, no. No.
Yes. And I also think there's something like the reason that like Hallmark, Lifetime, those style of Christmas movies are like weird. The normal ones, not the like one-offs that kind of become weird hits like a Christmas Prince or whatever. Hits.
Cult classics.
Where they're always like in these very pastoral settings. They're in small, quaint little towns where no problems ever happen. And that's like that's like a romance book trope too. Like, and that's fine. But it reminds me of how when this is so gay, when Marie Antoinette, because she was like famously very young when she got married to King Louis XVI, she had this like pastoral cottage built on Versailles in the gardens because she wanted to live like the idyllic rustic life. But like what people always forget is that the idyllic rustic life is not idyllic in any kind of sense of the word. Like it takes a lot of maintenance to like have the kind of like order to chaos that is like a beautiful rustic painting setting.
Hameau de la Reine. Okay, well, I'm not going to be able to say that many times over. So I think Marie Antoinette's little play, Pastoral Town, is a good metaphor for what happens in these kinds of movies of like, it's like a person who does not live that life. It's their idealized version of it. Although I think also people who do live in smaller towns and like have more conservative political opinions also really enjoy these. And I can tell you that because the context for the fascist propaganda article, I read a couple of things in response to this. So in 2019, Hallmark aired an ad from Zola, the wedding planning site that included a lesbian couple. And then they took the ad down because there was like some people writing in to complain about it and then later put it back on the air. And so anyway, there were several people who wrote essays like responding to this whole like, there's this group of people on the right who feel like these kinds of things belong to them. And like, this is the one channel that they can go and like not have to see unpleasant things like two women kissing. And so I think that.
Which I don't even think they kiss in that. I could be wrong. I thought it was literally that it's just two brides in the ad.
I think it said that they did kiss because Hallmark's excuse was that they didn't allow for like public displays of affection regardless of gender. And then a bunch of people went through and pointed out a ton of other ads and movies that they had aired that included kisses. Yeah. So they were like, that's obviously not the case. So I think there was a kiss in it. So I think that's I feel like that always actually, if we're like really getting into it, makes me wonder about almost like the ethics of consuming stuff like this, because I also want that like comfortable, nothing to stress about Christmas nostalgia type of stuff, but it does feel like it's increasingly coming with a bit of a bite to it, and maybe that's just the divisive times that we live in. But the knowing the fact that people watch these movies who have opinions that I find really bad about how diversity is a bad thing, and that the movies can sort of sometimes, play into that worldview. I think it gets really complicated of like, is it actually okay to like get into that escapism, or is it inherently ideological?
Yeah, there's like no like intersectionality about it. Like it's just like we are just taking one aspect of like what could be, and then it's like, look, like this movie can't be about diversity or whatever, blah, 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 because it's just about this one specific thing and it just runs with it.
And I think one example of that, RJ, you brought up earlier, which is Jennifer Lewis saying that she was the first female business owner and first mayor of the town, or first female business owner on the square. And she doesn't mention being Black at all, which seems like could be part of the story, right? But like that's part of kind of what we've like decided. Lindsay Ellis has a video about the like woke feminism of like new wave Disney or whatever you call the like the new remakes and stuff, that they put a lot of like girl boss stuff in those, and how we've all decided like it's cool to celebrate women doing things, but like you can't celebrate someone for being the first Black something, because then that would remind people that there was a time where they faced discrimination, which might imply that that still happens, right? And so, and I was like, oh yes, Kansas. Never been any sort of a massacre against Black business owners in the state of Kansas. So of course it wouldn't be relevant that she's African American, because
I thought that was Oklahoma.
Tulsa.
Oklahoma.
Oh, dang. Why did I think Tulsa was in Kansas? I'm so dumb, you guys.
You can redo it.
No.
If you want. Okay.
There was a massacre close to Kansas, I guess is what I wanted to say.
A state away.
Because, so Tulsa.
Well, Molly hates the flyover state, so it makes sense why she got them all confused.
Yeah,
right.
As someone who grew up in Minnesota and lives in Wisconsin.
I just think that they're all the same and it doesn't matter. And yeah. Anyway, so I think that just, it makes me uncomfortable. And that was another place where the Christianity elements, if we want to get into it, it was like, ooh, could this be camp though? I mean, we've got the gays in here, so we're like trying to be more inclusive, but there's also this aggressive level of Christianity.
Aggressive Christianity, which like famously, Molly and I grew up Catholic. So I don't know, Molly, like what your experience is with like other denominations of Christianity, but like especially when I moved to America, like zero experience, had no idea how it worked. I was like, what do you mean you just stand around and talk and listen to a song and then like eat an actual piece of bread? What do you mean it's a piece of bread? But like that idea of like the preaching element, like obviously like it was such a big like underlying thing throughout the movie that I don't know, like it just the entire time I was just like, this is just it's so like that Protestantism, non-denominational type.
Well, I think it's evangelicalism. I was writing this down because I was like, this feels so uncomfortable to me, and it's hard to pin down why, because I grew up in an extremely Catholic environment. And also like Christmas is ultimately a Christian holiday, right? There are lots of people who celebrate it in a secular way, but like is a Christian thing. And I was like, it's not like I watch Christmas movies and expect like there not to be any reference to Christianity in them. But I felt it was so jarring to me. And I couldn't figure out if it was that I have now been more outside of the Catholic thing for like a longer period of time. So just like maybe any of that would feel a little bit jarring. But I do think it's like the evangelical worldview. I mean, sometimes I struggle to articulate this to people that like, in a lot of ways, I think I have like Christian privilege, and that like I get the holidays off that my family celebrates, and I like understand references to Christianity, right? But like when people say Christian in this country, to me, there's a really big difference between Catholics and evangelicals. I think mainline Protestants, and maybe Adam, you can talk to this, I feel like mainline Protestants are like closer over to Catholics, where like I would assume that some of this stuff also feels a little bit wild to you, but there's parts of it that feel so foreign to me. Just absolutely.
Well, it's so funny. So this movie is very fascinating in terms of Christianity, because there is no actual preaching of the like, there's no actual like,
it's not like baby Jesus, like we have to prepare for baby Jesus.
Yeah, we don't get the nativity story. We don't get like, there's not a sermon. Yeah. There's like a beginning of a conversation that he's going to start at this meeting about what's going on. And it kind of gets taken over by the town with Wicked Witch of the Middle.
Yeah, I think though at the end reveals in the church, and I think that is his sermon, isn't it? That then introduces her.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, but even then, I mean, yes. I would say that that's what that is supposed to be.
But the writing was more kind of
But it was more like he was like preparing.
Revealing.
I will say that is how a Protestant minister does a sermon. I will say that. In the being like, arm on the pulpit.
Does a laugh like.
There was a woman who let her baby go. And that baby
Could you imagine, RJ, a priest leaning against the pulpit in such a casual manner? I can't even.
I can't. I can't.
But like apart from that, and even that is pretty short because the real behemoth of that scene is when she comes in to then tell her life story, and then everyone is shocked that she's clearly come around to the other side, but she still says, "I'll let you stay here," and they're all like, "Wow, I didn't see that coming."
I have to say, as I was watching this, I was like, if I were in this town and this woman got up here and she was like, "Let me tell you about when I had my baby and all this stuff," and I'd be like, "That's so great that you found your son, but are you going to evict me?" That's so much more relevant to my life. I would stand up and interrupt her and be like, "That's so great. Are you going to evict us though? Because like I need to know now." That's like actually really important. So
immediately after the service, I have to put boxes outside to be picked up.
Yeah, I was packing on the way here. So like, could we get past the baby stuff? Because like, I need to know if I need to leave my house.
I'm paying holiday rates to two men in a truck, and they are on their way to my house. I had to leave?
Such a bad last move. It's stressing me out just thinking about it. Oh my God.
Terrible. It's so bad.
Yeah.
I want to say like the closest thing that you could say was preachy.
I feel like a lot of the Christianity in those like moments where unfortunately I am going to say that it was cringe are between like the pastor and his wife.
The pastor. It's like how they talk to each other. They talked like as if they were like they were in like Bible study group.
Yes,
because it was like, well, don't forget that when Abraham like went through this, blah, blah, blah. Like it just felt like that because she, like when you said she doesn't talk
like a normal human being.
Dialogue. No.
Yeah, it does have a little bit of a feeling of like if you've ever seen clips of like Christian influencers who will like make videos together being like how we dated in a godly way. And like it's that vibe. Absolutely. I also feel like that the actor who plays the pastor, the first scene of them, which I think is the scene directly after the opening number. We're going chronologically through the movie again.
Yes. Oh yeah, they have it.
They're like, he is so serious in that scene that I almost for a minute was like, is he going to be the villain? Like that seems way off for a Christmas movie, but like maybe. And I think he was the furthest away from camp. Like he was in a very different movie than Christine Baranski was in.
Literally, he played that. He played Pastor Christian so seriously the entire movie, which is just funny because his other credit that I knew this actor from is from The Other Two, which is the Comedy Central show.
Now on HBO Max.
And he plays like a man child. Like he's like a 30-year-old wanting to be an influencer. So he's just like, oh, that's fire. Oh, that's dope. And I'm like, you trying to play this makes me feel like you're doing a bit. Because he was like doing a voice. He was like pronouncing words like he was in Handmaid's Tale.
He's also like, sorry, he's also really hot. And I don't mean to say that in like whatever. I just mean to say like he's very traditionally attractive. And his wife is not.
Okay.
And that's fine. And that's not the point. But what I am saying is that they had no chemistry.
Yes.
So that on top of them having these weirdo conversations where I was like, this man is a gay pastor and she's his beard. Like what I was reading into this in ways.
And the fact that she was like blaming herself for the infertility. And the setup for their first song is like, I don't understand why you love me. So it feels like the movie is trying to acknowledge like he's more conventionally attractive than she's not unattractive. It's just that he is like supermodel level, you know, like I would laugh in his face if he walked into a room in real life because I'd be like, you can't, people don't look like that in real life, right?
Yes.
And like,
and she looks like an average.
She looks like a regular person.
Yes.
And also though, I will say that you mentioned the coat earlier and I wrote in the notes that, men with a well-trimmed beard and in a nice coat is the straight women equivalent of putting women in bikinis for no reason in movies. Like there is a particular brand of straight lady for whom a man in a good coat is like, that's it. That's all they need. They'll be retiring to their room after this, y'all.
Yeah. And that's why the Christmas movies are so important is because what other season are you going to put a man in a beard and a coat?
We need the coats. Here is also, I wanted to know if, RJ, if this felt like your experience also with Catholicism. They have a line in that scene as well where they talk about God blessing them by like bringing the other one into their lives. And I was like, for Catholics, God is not doing you favors.
No,
He's not
God
out
is
there.
not doing
He's not doing
anything.
I am trying to make him happy constantly. That is the dynamic in Catholicism. Me trying to not disappoint Big Daddy in the sky. He's not doing stuff for me. What are you talking about? And I guess there is still that sense of like, oh, he's got a plan. And like sometimes they're like, oh, he works in mysterious ways, things comes up. But like I could not imagine two Catholics turning to each other and being like, I'm so glad that the Lord saw to bring you to me. Like, what?
Well, that's where the Calvinism in like Protestantism is like, hello, everything is predestined.
Yeah.
Basically, you just work until you die, so that
I need to know
the right thing.
I need to know the denomination and the religious texts that underpin this particular branch of Christianity.
Well, yeah, so it's very clearly there is no specific denomination mentioned. Like it's very obviously not Catholic, but
Even
like
though,
it's just general Protestant in some kind of way.
The church gave me a little Episcopal.
No, it's not.
It's not?
It is an actual church that they filmed at. It is a Presbyterian church, which is like closer to Calvinism.
I feel like Presbyterians are like right the line. They're like right on the line between mainline Protestants and evangelicals. They're like right in the middle of that. So I see why you would go for that if you were trying to be general, right?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Are you going to play the song a little bit here, unfortunately?
The duet?
Yeah, the duet.
Do you want to hear any of the songs from this movie?
Yeah. Here's your Christmas classic we all know and love. Take it away, hot guy and wife.
You are my heart song, I sing night and day. You're my rock star, my guitar, I so love to play. And you can be certain I love you always, in always forever. Together, whatever, nothing can keep me from you.
Here's the thing about
hot priest caught dead.
I mean, I'm still hot priest. Molly,
but you're Catholic.
Yes, because I am Catholic. Did you ever watch Fleabag? Season 1, season 2? Okay.
So good.
So good. Just quick tangent. When I watched season 2 of Fleabag, we were like going to Paris. So I was watching
on the plane.
Like on the plane. And I had such...
I thought it was just like such a flex. We were about to go to Paris. You know, it was
about to go to Paris.
Part of the season that we were,
But I was so horny for Hot Priest.
Yeah.
And when we went to famously gay, that it was truly like, this is literally all of my Catholic school fantasies come to life, and I can't even deal with it. Anyway, jumping back to
I think I have a good segue, which is the other thing that was interesting to me is that also, RJ, I want your take on this. I feel like growing up, angels were like a half step below possessions in the ranking of like, we can't say they're not real because it's in the Bible, but like stuff like that doesn't really happen anymore. And I don't know how much that's a universal Catholic thing.
Or
like
we're going to have a very different experience because
the
RJ is from the Philippines.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. The Philippines is so inherently Catholic, like it has imbued with like our culture.
Cathol.
Capital C. That it has like imbued with our like culture. And it's like superstitious Catholicism. So we
spiritual
Catholicism. So there's like a fanaticism about it. We have like, we kiss the feet of statues, like we pray the rosary, like we pray for miracles. Like that's a very big thing still to us. And I don't know if that's just more like because we were like a colonized Catholic country, that it like imbued with more of the like indigenous folk combined with like, oh, it's making sense. Yeah, it's God that's doing this.
And that's what Catholicism did everywhere that it went. Because I think it's I don't know the terminology for this, but I believe it's the largest like singular denomination of a religion in the world. Do you know what I mean?
Correct.
Like there might be more, like there are more Muslims, but there are branches of of Islam. And so like it's the biggest like singular religion. And so like obviously it has changed in different, and absolutely in Ireland it was the same thing where like it took parts of the pagan stuff that was already there and all that stuff. I think that my parish growing up it was fairly conservative, but it was also fairly like science minded. Do you know what I mean? So that just like wasn't part of kind of the mentality there. But I get it that, and I certainly knew people who referred to angels and stuff. I just don't remember ever it being part of like a homily. Like it didn't feel like it was coming from official Catholicism that like, angels are real and you should really be praying to them. Like that was kind of
Yeah. Well, in my experience, we loved the saints. Loved the saints.
We
loved
the
all
saints.
The archangels too. So like that was like as a child, we were always
you're named after us.
I am named after an angel.
Angel.
Yeah,
an
archangel.
Oh yeah.
So it's like we were always like, okay, you have a problem, pray to this patron saint, pray to this guardian angel. Like, so that was always like just like imbued with how we viewed things. So like angels were very big, like for my experience. I have like a weird fascination about them. I think it is because of that like saints, like it's like the who's who of the Catholic cinematic universe. And I was just always like obsessed with like who is what in like holy, like saints and angels stuff.
Yeah. Whereas I think my education was more along the lines of like saints are people whose lives you should emulate. And like you can pray to them, but like their purpose was less about like interceding in your life now as it was to like be a role model for you, which is
it's like
again,
they did
more
it.
sort of like based in the physical world, right?
Yeah.
So here's my question about these angels. Did they almost murder a child just to teach Christine Baranski a lesson?
No, I don't think they were involved.
But okay, so this child, so y'all, like 2/3 of the way through the movie, we've met this cute little kid who like poured Christine Baranski a drink at this bar that her dad runs.
My favorite moment, my favorite scene in the whole movie.
Yeah,
let me just say,
she pours herself a
whiskey.
What's it called? No,
chocolate milk. Chocolate milk.
Yeah, a chocolate milk, which is amazing. We should pause and play that song.
Yes, it's probably my favorite song.
I think it's my favorite song for sure.
It's a great grown woman, little kid song. It's so great.
Yeah.
Life is not a fairy tale. I guess it is for some, but not for us. I guess we both know life too well. We've seen and felt what it can do, and we don't care that much. For all the skins and bruises, other pains life uses to teach us lessons we have learned too well. No, life is not a fairy tale, not a fairy tale.
So she was like this little side character, and then like 2/3 of the way through the movie, she's in a near fatal car accident, which is also wild because her mother, we learned earlier, died in a car accident going to get her medicine. So this really has terrible luck with car accidents, y'all. It's like a really bad situation.
I want to be specific and say she is not in a car accident. She is washed. She loses control of the car and is washed into the river, basically. That is what happens with the car.
And that is also a lesson for Christine Baranski because it turns out that she was rushing to go get her daughter medicine. I don't actually know why that's connected to her rent.
You know what? We'll get into it later. I will bring up a very important point later in regards to
okay.
Adam will explain this.
So anyway, something where Christine Baranski was demanding the rent, so her mom had to rush to get her medicine, and then she dies.
Yeah.
Then this child is hit by a car, and they rush her into the hospital. Christine Baranski immediately is like, oh my God, get me the best neurosurgeon in the country. Like, she doesn't need additional anything. Like, she's there to, like, help this child, right?
Yeah.
And then Dolly Parton appears in the back of the ambulance and turns to the angel in training and says, phase 1 complete. And I think she is saying, I think that what that line communicates is, I tried to murder this child because the point of why I'm here is to get Christine Baranski to be nicer. And that is wild. That's such a, I mean, I guess it fits into a Christian worldview that God does really kind of messed up things sometimes for his goals.
Yeah.
But like, wow, what a way to be an angel.
That was my main question about just the angels in general, like the rules of the magic for the angels.
Oh my God.
Because first, like, I thought Angel, Dolly Parton, parentheses, was just Regina's angel. But then I was like, okay, now you introduced Felicity, who technically, if you're following like Charmed rules, that is her.
Lighter.
Yes, that is her angel. She is technically assigned to Regina. But for some reason, it's like having your boss micromanage your work constantly, and it's just like, okay, well, let me get involved because you're still clearly training. And I'm like, then why did you even have her train if you all along were already going to be involved in this?
And what is the cosmic timeline that allows there to be an angel in training? Like,
well, see, this is where, okay, so this movie is borrowing obviously from a few different Christmas stories. So there's obviously A Christmas Carol. The angel in training is obviously from It's a Wonderful Life. So like they're pulling these specific like references of, they're kind of like, what's the postmodernism like pastiche. They're pastiching everything like kind
Christmas
of together
movie.
in a nice
Camp.
beautiful big pot.
You could say it could be camp.
Yeah, but in It's a Wonderful Life, they explain that he's like, there's that scene at the very beginning with the stars where he's like, oh, he's like been trying to get his wings and he's been failing to do that. So he's been, we understand he's been working, but like Felicity.
Are you trying to argue that this movie doesn't explain what's happening? Because I am shocked to hear that.
If we're going with a biblical understanding of angels, where they are like immortal beings that also exist alongside God, not unless this is a situation of like dead people become angels, which is what some people believe, but is like less biblically supported. But obviously there's a lot of stuff that informs Christianity. I'm not going to say what's correct.
It's been a while since the source material was written.
Yeah. So like Felicity appears to just be like a young person. So is God making more angels all the time? And if so,
there's
do older angels die? No, I mean, like, how could you be, if you're an immortal being, how can you be in training for a new job? Did she have a different job previously?
She was in HR
she was in HR previously. She talked to her manager saying, I just really want a different career path. I just feel like this isn't fulfilling.
What's my development track? Yeah.
So she's technically shadowing, I think. And
okay. I accept it now. I'm good with it.
I also want to point out the false equivalency. There is a point in this movie when basically the moment you find out that she is an angel in training, they have this like kind of exchange with her and Felicity and Angela where she's like, I don't want to do this. I want to quit. And Angel says, if you quit now, you're as bad as she is. A woman who is going to evict an entire town of people.
Rather than this angel who doesn't really have a choice in what she has to do, right? I think that's kind of the point when you're an angel.
I do also
I don't understand.
I do love that humans can't deal with the actual biblical description of what angels are, so we just make them people with wings. Because if we were to try to be like, they are beings that are so frightening, every time they appear to someone they have to be like, be not afraid. Don't be afraid.
Calm down. I know this is a lot.
It's a swirling vortex of like rings intertwined with 38 heads around it staring inward.
It's wild.
And like, but humans are like, no, it's a nice looking girl with wings. That's it.
What if it was just a pretty lady? What if that's what it was?
What if
she was basically a fairy?
Yeah, I also just need to emphasize to the listeners, because I don't know how clear we were about this, that we don't find out that Felicity is an angel in training until halfway through the movie.
No,
an hour,
55 minutes,
55 to 60 minutes into the movie.
60 minutes is when we find 60 minutes is no, because 60 okay, sorry. an hour into this movie is the situation where we find out we watch the backstory of her like giving up her child. So it's like right before that.
Oh my God.
So it's like an hour and 20 in total?
It's an hour 38.
An hour 38. And we find out about the child at an hour?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. There's a lot that happens after that. I forgot about it, I guess. Yeah, I literally, because there are so many characters. So we told you that there's the child with the chocolate milk. There's the couple that's struggling with fertility. Christine Baranski has this old flame that she's like having some conversations with. And we cut back to a scene of Felicity like putting away groceries. And I put in my notes, what's the point of this character? And then Dolly Parton appears and starts talking to her about being an angel in training. And I was like, so she's like important to the whole, like it was so wild that they waited so long to tell you about this.
I want to go on record and say that I think Felicity was probably my favorite part of this movie because I thought the twist was fun. I thought that was a good little gag for an Act 2 moment. But also, I thought the actress did a really good job, and I liked that. Like, I like that character type of like awkward, kind of like bumbling.
But that whole sequence of Angel in Training, where they like had her dance too, Adam and I were like, Angels in Trainings are just BFA candidates.
Oh, 100%. When they were like going, why was she at the bar, like doing what?
Because it's the most effective metaphor, obviously, for being an angel in training. I think I would agree with you, Adam, that it would be a fun reveal if Felicity had felt like an important character.
If she had, like she was doing stuff in that first,
and we had seen her like fail at helping, and we just thought that was because she was the assistant, and then it was like, oh, she's an angel. That would have been cool. But she's been in like 1.5 scenes so far. We've spent so much
3
time
seconds
away from her.
Film. Yeah.
And then they're like,
that's why I say it's fun and not good.
Oh, okay.
But the other thing about Angel is Angel magic. Okay. So like, yes, I think we've already talked about the potential of, yes, phase 1 was to set up the almost death of the girl. But then when she was singing, she basically did a little spell and cured the little girl, and then went over to the baby store and cured the barren womb. She like did a little spell, and the like magic sprinkled into literally her stomach. And I was like, oh my God.
Which is the problem.
Wasn't that technically immaculate conception?
Isn't
that how we ended up with Jesus?
Did she fix the womb, or
tell me that's not what happened to the Virgin
Mary? Or did she put a baby in the womb? What just happened? Because she like smiled. She was like, I just felt something.
Yeah, it felt like she was like, I felt the baby kick. And I was like, girl, you didn't feel nothing kick.
I thought that they were just fixing her fertility issues so she could. I don't know. I feel like it's just, this is the problem with an interventionist God, right? It's like a whole mindset for the world. Is like, why did this have to happen for them to
when you could have just
having a child?
Yes.
You could have done this all along. So if you believe in a world in which angels can do that kind of stuff, why they didn't do something, they didn't learn a lesson. It was just that they found out who his mom was. So like why would they have to wait? So I'm coming for Christianity, you guys, or at least a version of it that
Judi
includes
Dench,
this kind of thinking.
Christianity, like
we're taking down all the greats here.
All the greats, the pillars of Western society, Christianity and Judi
Dench. There is that song that I cannot believe. I keep forgetting that she has a brain tumor.
Oh my God, yes.
Which ended up just being like a way to explain that this is probably why she
so she uses this because she is a rational person to be like, I guess I'm seeing this angel. I guess I'm seeing this angel because I have a brain tumor. And then at the end, the doctor comes up and is like, guess what? You don't have a brain tumor. And she just goes, great news, and then continues on with her day. And I was like, you just found out angels are real. And you're just like, cool. I had an errand to run. What? What? I mean, obviously it's good you're not going to die of a brain tumor, but like she does not take in the gravity of what she's just been told in any way.
Anyway, no.
Let's play Light Your Lamp, because
why not? We haven't played a song in a while.
I'm not gonna say I don't stand Dolly Parton, so
right.
Spread some light wherever you go, and always leave an afterglow. Be a beacon in the night. Light your lamp and spread the light. May this little light of mine cast a glow wherever it shines, like the way.
it's fine. I just really, the songs are not memorable.
They're so not memorable. And I also want to say that the setup for that is that her father's favorite story was of the Scottish lamplighter. Do you know what the story is? He used to light lamps. That's not a story, Dolly Parton. It's not a story. The story is he used to light lamps, and then you could tell where he had been based off where the lanterns were lit. That's the whole story. That's what the story is. My favorite
story.
Old story. There used to be a guy who would light lamps.
It was
That's it. Beginning, middle, and end, right there.
We were like, Adam and I were like, did he invent the lamp? Because they were like, this is an old prototype.
Oh yeah, she was like,
lamp.
yeah, the Deus Ex Lampina that happens in this film, where a Bible pops out of a lamp.
A Bible? Jack in the Box is out of a lamp.
Like fully blue skidoos out of a lamp. And in the store, she's like, this is the prototype. She's not British. This is the prototype my father made of the lamps. And I was like, what do you mean prototype?
Me?
It's a lamp. What is a prototype of a lamp?
He invented lamp. That's what they were.
But it's not even referencing. They're like, yeah, the story actually takes place in 1530. That's you don't realize that. But.
Yeah, it's like The Shining, where if you pay really close attention, you find out that her father's been alive for hundreds of years. So yeah, but you maybe missed it because it was like really subtle. Yeah.
Yeah, just like the Christianity elements in this.
Which, speaking of the lamp, the way that she finds out who her son is she finds this Bible in a lamp, and then when she goes to tell him, she goes, "It's written in a Bible, so it must be true." That was when I truly lost my mind, because I was like, setting aside, okay, people believe that everything written in the Bible is true. I understand that that's an important part of many people's religious beliefs. But you know that people can just write things in Bibles, right? It's not that it's in the script of the Bible. It's that a man wrote it down in there, and believing we need no other evidence for your paternity than the fact that somebody chose to write it in a Bible is the wild. I mean, you're going to be taken for all your money if that's how gullible that you are as a person.
Well, and then they do the whole thing where he was like, he always was at my games. He came to my graduation. It's so this movie is wild. I'm not kidding when I say the word wild. Like, truly an out of nature experience.
Well, let's talk about what did keep us invested in the movie, and that is Christine Baranski. If this movie was a one-woman show, I would have just watched just her. I didn't need anyone else. Honestly, I would have wanted a three-person scene of just Christine Baranski, Jennifer Lewis playing all the parts as an everyman character, literally just switching out hats and shirts. And then Dolly Parton as the angel. And this movie would have been great for me.
There are so many songs in this movie. There are like 26 songs. Half of them are like reprises, but like there are too many songs in this movie. There are too many songs. I never thought I would say that about a musical.
I literally texted that to Molly. I was like, hot take, musicals have too many songs?
Like we would, and it would, because I think the other thing is there was no like ebb and flow between songs. We would like end a song, have one sentence of dialogue, and jump straight into the next song.
There wasn't like a score, like a musical language connecting, so it didn't even feel like it was like a Phantom.
And this is not, we're not in the world of musicals where it's like, I was compelled by emotion to, I've come to this point where I need to release via song.
No, it's lines of exposition being sung. Like,
yes. Jennifer Lewis in the opening song like sings the words that we've been friends since we were we were in school. And I was like,
yeah,
that's bad. Don't write that.
I think returning to the original purpose of this podcast, which is analyzing musicals, I think potentially this is a movie with songs, not a musical, actually.
Yeah, which is it feels like a movie that is like kind of those like classic like 1920s, 30s, 40s musicals where they're just stitching songs together, but these are all specifically written. Most of them are all specifically written for this thing, which is like really crazy.
I want to read, that reminded me of a quote that I found in some of my reading. So I looked up also, obviously, information about like Hallmark movies, and I found an interview with two people who write scripts for Hallmark movies. And this was the best quote in it, where one of them said, I've said it's like writing a movie in the 40s, but then I look at a movie from the 40s and it's edgier.
Oh, yeah. People don't give the 40s enough credit. There's the song that happens in the church which is basically their Fahu Fores Dahu Dores from Grinch, that I want to play a little bit because it is stupid.
Is it the I Believe I Can Fly song?
I think it's this one. I think it's called Try.
Try. Where it's like we're not gonna give up on resisting against Regina. We gotta try. And then it just evolves into the song that's like different like not stereotypes, but just different literally like canned items of like that describe like trying your best, like pitching a great ball game, or like a father trying to what, like, and I was just like, what is this Christmas like greeting card song?
Well, because part of the rules of these kinds of movies, I think, is that no one can have adult problem solving skills. And so their response to Regina selling the town is first to sing a song about how mean she is, which is The Witch of the Middle. And then they're like, we should just really do something. But no one's like, does anyone know a lawyer or like a person who could help with a situation regarding eviction?
No, it's a song just to be like, let's pick ourselves up. We can do it.
Which kind of would have been fun if like Carl was a lawyer. Like that could have been like
tension. It could have brought conflict.
He could have had an actual.
But no, he just owns a pawn shop.
Purpose. Yeah,
I guess.
I think it's a secondhand store.
But the pawn shop
I don't know.
But the secondhand shop is important because he's Keeper of memories, I keep memories in the store. The memories of our
This is
town
a literal explanation of a secondhand shop. I keep memories.
These items have once belonged to people.
Molly, this was a song in the movie. I don't know if you remember.
No, I was going to say what bothered me about that. So I was pausing because I thought maybe you wanted to play it.
I mean, I can. Let's just throw it in here.
Why? I already sang it. That's essentially what it was.
Yeah, RJ gave us a perfect rendition.
This tea set, this cabinet, 'twas sweet little maze. Old George Brayford made it, and they used to play. Ah, she loved her grandpa with all of her might, and he hoped his love might keep her alive. With her beautiful face and her little bald head, they'd drink pretend tea with make-believe bread. Memories are precious and priceless, their value not measured in gold. And I am the keeper of memories, I know they hold riches untold. And I will forever.
What he says at one point, because I was writing in my notes that as a minimalist, this is my worst nightmare of a shop. But then he says in the song that the memories are not in the objects. And then I was like, so why
is this your branding?
His whole thesis was like, I need this whole shop full of old stuff because of memories. But then he's like, but the memories aren't in the objects, which is like obviously true. But like, then why? What's your purpose then?
What's your purpose?
I want to talk about the flashback to the dance.
Yes. Now, when they showed this, it was like, okay, this is how you know Debbie Allen directed.
This is Debbie Allen. This is Debbie Allen choreo.
Debbie Allen said, disco. Give me disco.
She said
right
legs
now.
kicking.
Legs kicking. And that's why
Christine Baranski says, and keep in mind, her father has been portrayed as like a kind-hearted, lovely man throughout this, never as a disciplinarian or authoritarian figure. She says in the voiceover, "Father let me go because it was a Christmas dance." What does that mean?
That's what literally my question. What is a Christmas dance?
But also, what is she's saying then that her father believed that other dances were immoral other than if they were for Christmas? And what is the worldview that he has constructed in which his teenage daughter is not allowed to go to dances unless they have a Christmas theme?
Here's the thing. He didn't want a daughter. He wanted a son. That's why he went to all the games, you know. That's why he was at graduation for Father.
Well, they do this thing when you see the baby get taken away, where the baby is wrapped in like this. It's kind of wrapped in swaddling clothes, one could say, and it was laying in a manger. But when they pass off the baby has like some pink in the like fabric of the like blanket that's wrapping the baby. So I was like, at first I was like, as soon as she had the baby and the baby was going to be given up, I was like, oh,
it's someone.
The pastor is the baby.
Yeah.
And then I saw it was pink and I was like, oh, maybe it's not. Maybe it's maybe it's the wife. I don't know. And then it was just, so I think they specifically chose like a pink thing to be like, oh, you never know. Because of course, I, as a viewer, watching a movie like this, if I am presented with a baby and any kind of pink color, you have to assume that is because they are giving the information of what is stereotypically a girl baby's color.
Also, the actress who plays young Christine Baranski was so bad when her baby was being taken away from her. She was doing the like scrunching the face and like, no, but he's my baby, Dad, no. Like as if like she was being told that she was grounded. And Adam and I were like, why didn't they just hire the girl who played young Christine Baranski
in Mamma Mia 2?
Here we go again.
Because she's incredible. Molly, I can't wait for you to see it. Can I say something else that I said to RJ while we were watching this? This movie felt like, sometimes they talk about when they were filming movies on like actual film where they would be like, oh, we only had so much footage, we only had so much film left, like we were gonna run out, so we had to use the takes that we had or whatever. Whereas like now that's not really a thing because it's all digital and you just delete a file and call it a day or whatever. But I said to RJ, I was like, this movie, there were shots in this movie or things about this movie that I was like, this feels like a thing where they were like, oh, we only have 3 days to shoot it, or we only have 1 can of film left, so we got to make it all count. Because when Pastor Christian, again, that's his name, I just want to reiterate, a little redundant. When Pastor Christian is giving his like sermon at the end of the movie, right before he brings in his mom, there are like 2 little acolyte altar boy pallbearers, like whatever you want to call them, off to the sides, and they're holding these like fake pillar candles, and they are so bored because they're just like if you watch them instead of watching him do the sermon, they're fully like
playing with
I
the
will
candles.
say doing what kids do as like altar boys.
Yes, absolute realism.
I will say this, I will tell this story. When I was an altar boy, we called them acolytes at my church. And thank you. And when we would like go up and then we would like process and then we would sit on the side, that's very normal. And we wore like these white robes with white cinctures, aka ropes. And so I would do this thing where I would like get bored during the sermon, and the pulpit was right above where we would like sit. So everybody's staring at the priest, and I am like playing with my like little rope on my robe, and I was like twiddling, and I knew this is what my mom would do when she noticed that I was like not paying attention. This is like 50 feet away in the middle of the church, and he's like giving a sermon, and I just hear and I knew that was my mom, and I'd be like and then I would just like stare for the rest of the sermon, and it was so frightening.
That's amazing.
It was that was my mom's way of making me.
The little boy on the right was fully yawning.
Oh, he yawns.
While
in the middle,
Christine Baranski is giving her whole speech about what her life story is, and this little boy could not care less.
No, can't be bothered.
I wouldn't either. I want to know if I'm being evicted. I'm on the boys' side.
This is what I'm saying, though. That's what I was also like, did this movie have an editor? And then I said to RJ, I said, this movie have an editor, or did like an algorithm, like a computer stitch together the plot of this film? And then it was like,
an app,
because that's why it would make that it clear. It keeps focusing on this woman in the ensemble, this blonde lady who like has no actual point,
right,
but for some reason she keeps being included in every shot. And then the minute I said that, it cut to the blonde lady in the congregation, and I was like, ah!
It's listening.
Oh.
They wanted to give everyone in Atlanta like an equal opportunity to shine on screen, you know?
It does feel a little crazy that we haven't talked about Jennifer Lewis, who gets a gospel number in the middle of this film after literally the car accident just happened. And she goes into the church and she's like, hopefully the kid will get better. Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
You gotta try.
Yeah.
The whole Jennifer Lewis about the movie is she's not allowed to be a black woman. She's only allowed to be like a black woman, all the parts of what we love about black women. So she's giving you the affirmations in the service. She's giving you this gospel number. She's giving you like the sassy hair salon lady who like is actually, like fighting back against Regina. And it feels so artificial because it's just like you are just portraying what they like about black women. And it was such a bummer because she's such a good actress. Obviously, like obviously, I'm sure this was a favor to her good friend Dolly, you know?
Yeah.
So like the entire movie, I was just like, she's having fun. Like I can tell that she's like, you know, having fun with it, but I don't know, it just felt so like, oh, this is so not, I don't know, not genuine.
It was a very boring Jennifer Lewis performance for an actress who like is never really boring in anything.
Exactly.
So that was kind of sad.
And we didn't talk about her up till now because she doesn't contribute anything to the plot. She has a song with Regina where she tells her she's mean, and then Christine Baranski just says, like, I don't care what you think, basically. And then she does the gospel number at the end, but like she doesn't do anything that actually impacts anybody.
No.
And that's the thing, when she sings Queen of Mean, a couple songs later they sing Wicked Witch of the Middle. So I was like, you just literally
this already happened.
You just like beat Jennifer Lewis's song because you made it like, now let's do a bigger version of it. I'm like, then why did you even have her do it?
They didn't want to reveal the backstory for Christine Baranski, and so they kept just having to be like, she sure is mean, huh? And that's all that they could say about her because they couldn't tell us any information about her character.
It does feel, it was very frustrating because it clearly felt like they were like, well, we should have like a major character, quote unquote, be black. And that's really honestly what it feels like, that was like the whole decision around this character. But like, imagine if like the pastor's wife was black. Like, I just think that could have been even more interesting if it was like, I don't know. I mean, I should say Violet is black. Her dad is black. The like kid. So that's also like a thing. Jennifer Lewis's character has nothing to do in this film, and it's very frustrating because
she's the most dynamic person.
I would be fine with it if she was given a bunch of like zingers to say, one-liners, jokes to tell, and she doesn't even
she
get
doesn't
that.
even do that.
There are like no jokes in this film. There are things that people think are jokes,
but I think
like
they're just
Dolly,
good lining.
People keep saying "good heavens," and Dolly keeps saying, "Yes, they are." And like that's supposed to be funny.
But I think they're just good line readings from Dolly Parton and Christine Baranski. Because Christine Baranski, when Felicity is like trying to like, oh, but you should really do this. You should go see that doctor. And she says, if you want a friend, get a dog.
Yes.
And I was
great.
That is so good. But that's clearly Christine Baranski reading the assignment, knowing what she's supposed to do.
Just leaning in.
Yeah.
Leaning in.
Yeah. Because you don't really buy that she's fully like a new person at the end of this. I mean, I don't. I was like, yeah, she feels fine now, but in 2 months she's gonna be like, okay, but I want that Cheetah Mall money. Okay, I'm not living here.
I don't think that she. Yeah. It doesn't seem like she was in a financial situation where she needed the money. I think
she lived on a mansion on a hill overlooking the whole town.
Well, no,
I think they were trying to tell us.
New York.
Yeah, she lives in New York.
That's right.
That's a real mansion in the I don't remember what suburb it is, but it's like the first suburb of Atlanta. It's this historic mansion that they like used for the exterior shots.
Oh,
which I thought
okay.
was cool.
But they were basically implying that she was selling the town just because she needed to move on from her past and that she didn't need the money. So I guess she won't sell it in the future. I don't know.
And the mall is going to be built in the middle of the town, which is in the middle of the country. And it's the biggest mall in the middle of the country.
Coming from Mall of America.
Coming for Mall of America. Coming for her gig. Is there literally anything else to say about this film?
My only thing that we didn't talk about is the pastor's wife, Jenna, wears this wrap. Do you know what I'm talking about, Molly?
Gray.
She wears a gray wrap, and she's wearing like a sleeve, like a shoulder revealing like red blouse.
Yeah.
It's not like a dress.
No, it's just a blouse.
But this wrap is not covering her shoulders.
It's covering one shoulder. The way she's wearing it is she's wearing it like this. This is great on a podcast, by the way. This is like prime podcast material where I'm going to put on an article of clothing and you will never see it. This is how she's wearing it. So her shoulders are exposed. It's kind of like a boat neck. and she's wearing her wrap like this.
And we couldn't stop looking at it. We were like, just pull your damn
Pull it up.
wrap up.
Pull it up.
Also, it's supposed to be snowing, like winter.
There's active snow on the ground. And people are like not wearing coats.
Yeah.
It's so bizarre. I will say I've never seen a movie that looks like it was more filmed on a soundstage in my life.
Yeah.
Very much.
It was giving me full Schmigadoon. Like, it's like, these are all flats.
Yeah. The snow thing is also, I learned, one of the rules of Hallmark Christmas movies, that you have to have snow. You can't even threaten them with a lack of snow because there has to be snow throughout the movie. So the plot cannot be about waiting for the snow to come. The snow has to be there already.
But they're like dressed in, like, I would say fall clothes. They can't be like
no, they would be so cold. If it was actual snow, they would be like, I'm going to pass away from hypothermia. They're wearing like a flannel shirt and like jeans, and they're like,
and never
and like not a coat,
December 24th.
No hats, perfectly done hair. Obviously, it's a movie, that's fine, but like so crazy.
Merry Christmas.
So now that us nobodies have said our stuff, we're going to finally talk about what real professionals have to say. Oh, I put it in the wrong spot today. I forgot I put it down there. Okay. So, this movie on Rotten Tomatoes has a 63% critic score. With the critics' consensus of Dolly Parton's Christmas on the Square isn't quite up to its star standards, but its overwhelming good cheer and campy self-awareness may be just what viewers are looking for. NPR for LA, correspondent in LA, Amy Nicholson, she said, this is Netflix's version of community theater, which I don't really mind. And at The Independent in the UK, Clarice Lowry said, it's hard to figure out quite... Sorry, let me do this in a British accent. It's hard to figure out quite where Christmas on the Square is headed in any given moment, despite the film borrowing liberally from festive classics. Which I think goes back to like the It's a Wonderful Life poll and the Scrooge poll. But the people on Letterboxd have different takes. Jennifer gave it 1.5 stars and said, I genuinely think Dolly Parton is one of the most talented individuals of all time and can do anything. And she proves it in this film by literally impregnating a woman. Alex Gladman gave this 5 stars and said this movie is the equivalent of taking 700 milligrams of Benadryl and staring at a model railroad village for 6 hours. On point. The people. Give the people a platform. And then this is not a rating, so she didn't give it any stars, but Malachi gives this review, and it's kind of long. But when the child is bartending and explains to Christine Baranski how she, Christine Baranski, is responsible for her, the child's mother's death, without knowing that Christine Baranski is the one responsible, and starts her explanation like, well, you know that woman who owns the entire town is harsh when people are late on their rent. And I was like, oh, got it. The mom got evicted and died. But then she continues to say the local pharmacy was late on their rent, so they had to close. And I was like, oh, okay, got it. The mom worked for the pharmacy, and the pharmacy got evicted, so the mom lost her job and couldn't pay her rent, then she died. But then she continues with, and I got really sick that winter. And I was like, oh, okay, so now I've got it. The mom caught the illness from the daughter and died. But then she says, so my mom had to drive really far to the next closest pharmacy 20 miles away. And I was like, oh, okay, got it. The mom got in a car accident on the way to the pharmacy. But then she's like, and also there was a really bad storm that night and it blew my mom's car off the road into the wash. So no, actually, I was wrong again. That's the full review of this film.
Oh, I'm glad that she explained it to me.
It's perfect because you know what? It's twists and turns. That's what you're getting with this. You never know what's coming next. You know exactly what's happening, but you never know what's happening. And I think that's a hallmark, if you will,
of this type of movie.
Ladies and germs, what classic holiday movie would you like to see Dolly Parton create a camp version of?
I have an answer to this.
Is it a musical or is it just a movie?
I would put it in a musical.
I would put it in a musical, but I want someone to be like, Dolly, edit some songs and like fine tune these songs.
Or like
Don't
Dolly,
just be like, this is my rough draft of a song and here you go.
Or like either Dolly writes the music or it's a jukebox musical of Dolly songs fit as a holiday movie.
Fit into a Christmas movie? Okay.
Yes, because here's my pitch. I want her to actually sit down and commit to doing a Christmas Carol, Dolly Parton style. I was so excited for a Christmas Carol movie. I was like, okay, Christine Baranski is going to see the ghost of Christmas Dolly, past, present, and future. And when she appeared, I was trying to track like, oh, okay, so that was Christmas past because the lanterns. And Adam was like, no, that was Raleigh Crumb or whatever the other guy is.
Raleigh Crumb? The Walt Disney Imagineer?
Whatever name you said. You're like, that was the ghost of whatever with the chains or whatever. What did you say?
The first
Jacob
ghost
Marley?
that comes. Jacob Marley,
whatever. I'm like, okay, sure.
Raleigh Crump. famous first
Dickens character.
Raleigh Crump.
So
I mean, he does
okay,
sound like he could be in a Dickens novel, to be fair. Yeah.
Or a character in Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Oh, Professor Crump.
Professor Crump. So the entire time I was
out Raleigh Crumb throwing paper airplanes at Professor Snape. Knock it off, Crumb.
So the entire time I was trying to keep track of like, okay, so is this Christmas present? And then they revealed Felicity as an angel. And I was like, oh, we're not doing Christmas Carol anymore. So I feel like I was scammed out of a campy Christmas Carol.
You
Dolly.
literally get the Ghost of Christmas Past. And by that, I mean just that scenario where you like go and see the past with
And then
Angel,
every time they do a flashback, they're all in the past. So I was like, oh, so we're just taking the idea of ghosts, like flashbacks, and then a Scrooge character. Got it.
Well, and
because I was like, okay, Violet's going to be Tiny Tim. So we're going to see Violet. And I guess like her having an accident is like the realization that like, you know, Tiny Tim dies or whatever. So I'm like, okay. But no, I wanted full Christmas Carol. I wanted 3 Dollies in 3 different looks as past, present, future. So I felt like I was scammed and I want that. That's the Christmas skin on the square that I want.
Molly.
I was going to have the exact same answer. Because
oh my God, really?
Christmas Carol is my favorite holiday narrative. I used to go see it at the Guthrie with my family every year.
Amazing.
And exact same reasoning that I want to see Dolly do all 3 ghosts in different outfits. So I will make up a new one on the fly because my other favorite Christmas movie is the original How the Grinch Stole Christmas, the Boris Karloff version. So I would like Dolly Parton to make a new animated Grinch where she just sings the novel. She just puts the novel. It's not a novel, it's a picture book where she puts the book to music and just does it in a Dolly Parton style. I think that
the tome. The tome that is Dr. Seuss's How the Grinch Stole Christmas.
The multiple volumes of Dr. Seuss's How the Grinch Stole Christmas.
This is interesting. I don't know. I would say if I was to see a movie musical version of a holiday classic, I think the one that I would choose that could be fun because it's not really done and I think could be fun in terms of like a musical setting is what's the one with Jack Black and Kate Winslet?
The Holiday.
The Holiday?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm thinking of The Holiday.
You're thinking of the Queen Latifah movie, Last
Holiday. That's
which
not what
I would also like to see a movie musical version of that.
Yeah,
but I want Queen Latifah to do the musical for that.
Yeah.
I want raps. No, I think a Dolly Parton The Holiday would be fun because you get some like you could get a bunch of duets. Because they get coupled off, which is the point of the whole movie.
What character would Dolly play in that movie?
Great question. I haven't watched it in a long time, so
she would play a narrator role where she would tell the story of how the couples.
Okay,
coupled.
gotcha.
Yeah. It's hard because I don't think Dolly would need to be in it, but again, she probably was the best part. Well, her and Christine were like the best part of this.
Yeah.
So she is like good. She's like fun. She's a good energy on set when she shows up and isn't just photoshopped into the scene. That's it. I don't know. I don't even know what else to say. Other than, did you notice that this movie elevated the fourth wall break of Cats with Dolly with her massive wings staring directly into the camera at the end with Felicity?
No, they were just sitting on the watchtower.
No, they look into the camera.
I know, but they don't have the wings. The wings is in
the song.
The church.
Yeah.
But yes, they do look. They do break the fourth wall.
I did not share your love of Felicity, so I felt like that ending with her sitting next to Dolly Parton was not earned. I was like, get this lightweight off of the screen with Dolly Parton. I just want to get signed off with Dolly.
I was shocked because I thought for sure it was so clear a reference to It's a Wonderful Life that I was like waiting for a bell to ring to like reference the like lore of every time a bell rings an angel gets its wings, and then that didn't happen, and I was like, oh,
okay, so we're just picking and choosing.
You didn't want to go all the way.
I think back to the idea of like they could have leaned even heavier into the camp. I think you're right that they should have leaned even heavier into the pastiche as well, and just had like little moments that were just clear references without really having to explain them. That would have been really fun to be heavier into that.
They could have easily called Regina a Grinch.
Right.
They chose not to.
Famously a woman in The Grinch.
Yeah.
She plays Martha May Whovier.
Which is the ultimate Christine Baranski Christmas role.
Period.
Yeah.
Period.
End of story.
I mean, period. Yeah, it's probably one of her best roles.
Yeah, she's so good in it. That movie's crazy. But I enjoy it because I watched it as a kid. I understand objectively that it's a nightmare. But great. Well, thank you all for celebrating the holiday season with me.
However you celebrate, we hope you had an amazing holiday season.
Continues into the new year. Happy New Year. Go eat some figgy pudding.
Now bring us some figgy pudding. Now bring us some figgy pudding.
Now bring us some figgy pudding. I was going to join into that because I can't remember any of the other songs in this musical, so I didn't know what else to sing off.
We won't go until we get some.
We won't go until we get some. Da 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 da.
Yeah, what is the lyric there? We won't go until we get some, so bring it right here.
Right here. That's what it is.
Cool. Classic.
It's Christmas on the square.
It's Christmas on the square. Christmas on the square.
Christmas on the square.
Bye. Thank you for listening to the best revival of a podcast, Showgays. You can find us on social media. Adam is at Adam Noecker on Twitter. RJ is at RJ Food Rocks on Instagram. And Molly is at Molly Matiny on Instagram. This episode was edited and mixed by Adam Noecker. This has been an Ampliverse production. You can find our show page and more information at theampliverse.com. If you'd like to send us your own takes on the movie we just watched, reach out to us via email and we might read it aloud on the show. Our email is showgaysmoviemusical@gmail.com. Don't forget to follow us on Apple Podcasts or wherever you find your podcasts. And as always, rate, review, and subscribe to help others find the show. And now, as always, the show must go on, so stick around to hear what we're going to be watching next episode.
Dear Evan Hansen, today is going to be an amazing day, and here's why.
Have you been doing those letters to yourself with Dr. Sherman?
I've been trying to. Have you ever felt like nobody was there?
No one signed your cast. Now we can both pretend we are friends.
I'm sorry about my brother.
Have you ever felt forgotten in the middle of nowhere? I wish everything was different. Wish I was part of something. I wish that anything I said mattered. Have you ever felt like you could disappear?
Dear Evan Hansen.
Yeah, that's mine. I'll just take it. Wait, I need that back. You could fall, and no one would hear. Connor took a letter from me, and it was an assignment from my therapist.
Ew.
Even when the dark comes crashing through.
Connor's mother and stepfather are here to see you.
When you need a friend to carry you.
Connor wanted you to have this.
And when you're broken on the ground.
Dear Evan Hansen, he wrote it to you.
His last words, Connor took his own life.
Hey, what? I'm sorry, Connor didn't write this.
No, please. It says,
you will be found.
We didn't think Connor had any friends.
I mean, you really gonna tell these people that the only thing they have left of their son was a letter that you wrote to yourself?
so, you and Connor, tell us something, please.
Right. I started talking and you couldn't stop. They didn't want me to stop.
I'm putting together a memorial service. If you wanted to do something.
Connor showed me that I wasn't alone. Nobody is. So, let that lonely feeling wash away. Maybe there's a reason to believe you'll be okay.
I didn't know that you were hurting.
'Cause when you don't feel strong enough to stand,
A lot of people feel like us.
you can reach out your hand.
People started sharing it. It's everywhere.
I don't understand what happened.
You did. You don't know how much you've given my family and me.
You will be found. Let the sun come streaming in. 'Cause you reach up and you rise again. If you only look.
Were you ever actually friends with him?
I never meant to make it such a mess. I was trying to help. If you knew who I am, just how broken I am.
I already know you.